Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Traitors Around the World podcast. I'm, of course, your host, the Duke of Deception, Pooya and Brian. With me is Brian Gregory Scally, my co-host. And with us today, we are joined by the winner of Traitors Canada Season 1. It is the incredible Magic Mike. Mike, first of all, how are you doing? Second of all, congratulations on your hard-fought victory.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. It's so nice to be here today. And honestly, I'm feeling great. What can I say?
Yeah, what have the last couple days been like? Just since either, waiting for it to air, actually getting to watch it to air. What's that? And I saw you were with a lot of the cast. How's that been?
You know what? It was so nice getting together with everyone again because we shot this in the summer and, it's already been a few months now. We haven't really seen each other. So this was such a nice reunion. And it was honestly an incredible experience all around.
It was a very fun experience for us watching, Mike. Now, every other franchise, they do a couple episodes a week. This was a slow burn, week to week, little by little, and it's been amazing watching your journey because I don't know if you've been checking out our coverage, but we thought you had lost it from 2 weeks ago. We're like, oh, Mike can't pull it back at this point. It's over.
I was gonna say I'm taking your title now of Duke of Deception for all these wrong predictions.
You earned it. You earned it. We give it over to you. The keys are yours now. Mike, I guess the top question at this hour for us is gonna be you and Gurleen, because it all comes down to this one vote at the end. There's this pair you're at the end with, and it should be doom and gloom, but you pulled it out. How did you work with Gurleen to get to this result?
So it was my only play here, really, that I could do. I was trapped in a corner. I had no other play. So, I figured I had a good alliance with Gurleen and Leroy. I felt close with both of them, obviously. I just knew there was no way I would get Leroy to turn on Gurleen. So Gurleen was my only option, and I pulled every trick out of my hat to try to put thoughts in her head that day. I guess it worked, but I think it was a combination of many things. I think there was probably doubt in her mind about Leroy as well. Maybe the way he was chatting with her. I mean, you'd have to speak with those two directly. But I think, a combination of what I was saying and a combination of maybe what Leroy was doing ultimately led to that decision.
Yeah, because as presented on the episode, we didn't know exactly how long you had been working with Gurleen and Leroy. And now I know that it might have been a little bit difficult to wrangle, but we were interested in why the path of Travon and Donna was an impossible one to take to the end. Can you speak a little bit to why that was not an option for you?
Well, I think that's obvious. I already knew that they would be voting for me anyway. So why on earth would I go with Donna and Travon when they just voted for me at the last round table? I had no trust in Donna at that point because she wrote my name. Even we had this conversation afterwards, but I didn't believe anything. And Travon, I knew was a guaranteed vote against me. So there was no other option. It had to be Leroy and Gurleen, and obviously Gurleen and I standing at the end together.
So I want to take you back to the very beginning, Mike. You get called up to do this show. Were you familiar with Traitors before the call up? And if so, what did you watch in preparation before you started the game?
Ooh, so not at all familiar. I do not watch reality television. And I got the call, and it was so weird because they're like, hey, we have this show. It's about, manipulation, and we think you'd be great. You're a magician. And I'm like, not that interested. But they kept pushing me. They're like, watch the show. So I watched the UK version. And it was such a quick turnaround that I kind of skimmed through it. I watched more for the challenges to see if maybe I could do them, not knowing the whole psychological aspect of the game. And then I got hooked, and I'm like, you know what? Yes, this would be a thrill of a lifetime, and let's do it.
Nice. So I assume you came in wanting to be a traitor. Now, how exciting was it to get that initial tap on the shoulder? How are you feeling in that moment? Take us through that.
Yeah, obviously it's nerve-wracking. I mean, we're all sitting there blindfolded and you're just waiting for that tap. And it took quite some time, actually. I think she walked around a few times, Corinne. So yeah, I didn't think I was going to get chosen, but when I did, it was like, okay, stay cool, keep it calm. I don't even know if I smiled or anything, but it was great.
Who would you say was your closest alliance throughout the season? Who were you closest to, period?
So I wouldn't say, I mean, I was close with everyone, to be honest with you. I didn't feel like I had any enemies or anything. I felt like, honestly, I had a good bond with everyone individually. I don't know if I paired up with like an alliance, but Mickey was fantastic. We got along really well. I know we don't see much of him on the show, but I felt really comfortable with him. Rick was amazing. We spent a lot of time together at the beginning of the show. Dom was also great. Nazila was fantastic. Kuzi was like my sidekick the whole game, so we got along really well. Mel B, I mean, I could go on. Everyone was, I felt like a good friend of mine in there.
So someone obviously that you worked a lot with in there, as you mentioned, it was Kuzi. Now we saw just a couple weeks ago, it came time where you decided it was time to cut her loose. Was that always going to be the case that day? Did the twist influence anything? What went into the decision of cutting Kuzi there?
So what happened to me that day, the night before at the round table, obviously I hear May saying that Kuzi called my name. Mel said it to me. I totally believed them. And then I knew at that point I had no other choice. I knew Kuzi and I rode, this wave, and we were doing so well. We had a great dynamic together. She was truly a mastermind. I give her so much credit, and that was never my intention to. I knew, though, she would do the same to me if it came to it. It was just a matter of time. I think I just beat her to it. And that's the way the game had to be played at that point, in my mind. I had this paranoia in my mind. As soon as someone would say my name, they were usually gone the next day. So hence why I never recruited, and there were a lot of murders in the show.
I will say that was a very, very incredible watch, just seeing the two of you meet up week to week and not recruit. We're like, surely you're going to want backup or something. And y'all just made it all the way through until you had to blackmail, which is my next question. So you make the decision to blackmail Mickey. Now, when everything was said and done, we talked about this after the finale, that it seemed like you would almost pick the perfect candidate to pin it on 3 other people and not yourself, which seemed to have worked out. How much thought went into picking Mickey of the crop left there?
To me, there was no thought, really. I knew it would have to be Mickey because he was the only one at that point in the game that I actually trusted. I knew he wouldn't turn on me. So he seemed like the right candidate. And it's not that I said, hey, I'm going to throw him under the bus that day. I played it. I kind of heard what everyone else was saying, and it seemed like there was some suspicion around Mickey. So then I'm like, well, it's either now or the next day. Let's go along with this. And sorry, Mickey, but I had no other choice. And the truth is, if I didn't vote Mickey, it could have been me gone that day because it was a very close vote.
Yeah. And now on the next vote, we do get a twist introduced to the game. And when Travon goes home, it's not revealed whether or not he is actually a faithful or a traitor. Do you think that helped your game out in any measurable way? Or how did you think of that?
At that point in the game, it didn't matter because I knew the only way I could win this game would be to have myself and Gurleen at the end. I knew it didn't really matter if he was a faithful or traitor. They would have voted me out anyway at that point. I think the only play here was for the two of us to be at the fire together.
And we got to watch that play out. And so Gurleen reveals her vote. She voted Leroy. Mike, we also discussed this on the finale pod where Scally said that I'm happy that Mike didn't really didn't say much or reveal it. And I was like, yeah, I feel like it's one of my most favorite things is to play coy there. How hard was it for you to not break character, break face, and be like, I just won the money?
Oh my gosh, that was so tough because really Gurleen was an awesome person. We had so many experiences together on the show, and it just felt like really I betrayed a friend, like a close friend. So it's like, yeah, I should be happy, but at the same time, I'm like happy because of what I did to someone else. It was like a conflicting moment for me in the game, but that's the game. I was chosen to do this, so I had no other option.
Yeah. Yeah. And anyone in your position would do the same. So that's the hard part. It's like feels very conflicting in that moment, I'm sure, but
Of
you
course.
know. Yeah. So now we talked about the number of murders throughout the game. Was there anyone that you felt like, I don't, hard to have regrets when this is the outcome, but maybe that you left around a little bit too long, was either more difficult to banish than you thought, or causing some headaches?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the murders were fine all along. I was happy with who we murdered, what we went with. I mean, it would have been nice to get Travon out a little bit earlier. There was no chance, though, at that point in the game that I would be able to murder him, because then there was too many things that were leading up to me, that it would just be too obvious. So I didn't murder Travon, but I think at that point in the game, he didn't have a lot of say, like a lot of persuasion over the character or the people that were still there. So it kind of worked to my advantage.
You have now danced with the reality TV devil, Mike. You went on the show after not really maybe wanting to. Do you think we expect you to want to pursue other reality TV shows, or do you think this was a fun time, but let me go back to what I do?
You know what? I'm a magician. I'm most comfortable on stage. This was so outside my comfort zone. I think it took years off my life, but it was truly an amazing ride. And I mean, yeah, I would totally consider it, but maybe something a little less intense. Maybe we'll do America's Got Talent or something like that. We'll see. We'll see what's next.
It was super fun. I mean, Mike, your name came up a couple different times throughout the season. We got to watch you fight your way out of that. Was there a round that you felt like you might have actually been in danger of going home at the vote?
So this is going to sound crazy, but throughout the entire game, I never thought I was going to get banished. Not even once. I felt really confident where I was. And you can see, like, I didn't realize anyone was talking about me. I honestly thought I was flying so under the radar, but then watching it back, I'm like, what the this is crazy. How did I slip through the cracks here? Everyone was talking about me, it seemed, but it didn't seem like anyone was really voting for me. The votes always went elsewhere, so I never really felt. I knew that night when it was going to be Kuzi and myself, that night I was a little bit nervous, but I did feel like I had the vote on my side.
I feel like the biggest testament to your game in this last episode we saw was you had two people vote for you the brown table prior, and then both those people come into the breakfast, and not only do they backtrack on it, they apologize for the vote. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I voted you, Mike. And I'm like, look at Mike back under the radar, just hanging out.
Yeah, that was nice. I feel like at that point in the game, though, they didn't really have a play either. I think they saw the alliance between myself, Gurleen, and Leroy, and I think we all knew where it was going.
Nice, nice. Now, you know what it takes to make a good traitor, Mike. If you're looking at someone on the cast and you get the chance to cast someone as a traitor, who do you think had untapped potential to play a similar game to you?
Ooh, gosh, that's tough. I didn't see any of them being a partner in the game for me. That's again why I
Yeah,
didn't recruit. Um, but I would say, I think Gurleen would make an amazing trader. Really, I think she played a flawless game right to the end. Oh, I mean, except that final vote, but she played a good game. She was quiet, and I think, to be honest with you, the quiet players are the ones that did well in this game. I didn't have to do much. Everyone who was loud and started, speaking up, those were the ones who got banished early. So I think the ones that you saw at the end would all make good contenders for traders.
I
Yeah,
would love to see it. That could be a fun remix season where they bring the exact same cast back and then swap up the roles. We'll see how that goes.
that would be cool.
Yeah. Mike, thank you so much for giving us your time. Congratulations on your win again. We discussed where your win would rank for us, and it's pretty high. I think you're one of the best traders we've seen play this game, and it was a delight. So thank you so much for the entertainment you gave us for the last 10 weeks.
Well, thanks so much for your entertainment. It's been so much fun watching you every night, and you guys did a great job.
We appreciate that. All right, Mike, take care and hope you have a nice day.
You as well, guys. Thanks so much. Google, how many articles are there on Wikipedia? So how many articles are there on Wikipedia? It's going to bring up a list of different websites. There's a website that should come up. It's called wikicount.net. Do you see that one there?
Yes, it's the first one.
The first one, yeah. Click on that. That's going to give you a live count as of this moment of how many articles there should be. Last time I checked, it was like 6.4 million, but the number increases daily. What does it say?
6.6. You want me the whole number?
No, 6.6 million?
6.75.
Okay, does it say the average number of words in each article?
Yes.
How many?
1770.
1770? Look at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something here. I'm going to go to my calculator. 1770 times, you said about 6.5 million articles equals, that's about 11 billion words on Wikipedia. That's so many words that if you were to write a book, it would reach all the way from Connecticut to the moon.
Okay.
No, I made that up.
Well, I was gonna say, it's a lot. It's off the cuff.
Pooya, do me a favor. Where it says visit Wikipedia, click on that.
Okay.
And then it's gonna, I want you to just search any one random word that you could search on Wikipedia. Something, don't show me what it is, but type it in and then hit enter or go in like the magnifying glass there. And once you've done that, it's gonna bring up the page on Wikipedia. You have the page?
I do have the page.
Scroll down the page, and I want you to look at like one word, but don't make it an obvious word, like a short, make it a harder word, like more than 6 or 7 letters. Just look at one word. It doesn't matter which one it is.
Okay.
You got one?
Yes,
Good. Put
I
your
do.
phone down. Put it down. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and read your mind over the screen here, okay?
Okay.
I want you to think of the word. We're going to start with the first letter of the word. Think of the first letter. Here we go. Say it out loud. What was the first letter?
A.
A? Sorry, the first letter of the word that you searched. Like
Not A. That was C.
What was that? Oh, C? Okay, good. Now we're on the same page. I also C. Okay. We're going to start with that one, the actual article that you searched on Wikipedia. Think about it. Think about it over and over. Say it in your mind. I think that this is something that a lot of people search on a regular basis here. I think it's a very wide known subject and there's a lot of information. I'm also going to say this. This is probably one of the most searched articles on Wikipedia for the first time. What was the name of the article that you searched?
I searched coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah.
Like, I also wrote something.
Wow.
Oh my God. Look, I'm going to take it one step further. Then you looked on, it's a very long article, yes?
Yeah.
You looked at a word. You didn't touch it. You didn't highlight it. You looked at one. Think of that word in your mind. Now, I might be totally off with this, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Okay. $11 billion words on Wikipedia. You thought of one. You didn't touch it. You didn't highlight it. You're the only one here, Pooya, that knows what that word is. For the first time, say it out loud. What was the word in your mind?
The word in my mind that I'd looked up or I'd chosen was advantages.
Advantages?
Yes.
Ooh. I also wrote one word.
This is ridiculous. This is
Come on.
Oh my God.
I'm in your head now.
Wow.
Mike, how am I supposed to conduct other exit interviews today? I need to lay down. This is a lot. How did you get there?
This is what you did to Gurleen.
I'm also voting Leroy now.
There's so much more to magic than just on stage. You know, magic can be used in everyday life to basically misdirect people and manipulate people. And that's what I did.
That's so funny.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was delightful and terrifying.
Yeah. Thank you, Pooya. And it was so nice meeting you guys. Let's definitely keep in touch.
Definitely.
Will do. Will do. All right. Take care, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good day. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Hello and welcome back to the Traitors Wrap Up, everybody. I'm your host, Pooya and Brian. With me is my co-host, Brian Scally, and we are joined right now by the lovely Gurleen, who we have been very
Hi.
excited to talk to you. Hey, Gurleen, how are you feeling at this hour, first and foremost?
Yeah, I obviously feel a lot of mixed emotions. It was definitely difficult to relive the end and relive like the decision that I made and, have everyone's reaction. So I definitely feel, of course, very like sad, disappointed, but, I played my heart out and I feel proud of myself. I know that, the decision that I made was like terrible, but it is what it is.
Hey, it's a game. We all, have played them. We've all won, we've lost. So, no fault to you, obviously, on our
Are
end.
you
I think
sure?
that, and I
Are
mean,
you sure?
well, we don't blame you. It happens every day, but I think people are definitely wondering, like, how did this happen? What did Mike
Yeah.
say to you that ultimately got you to suspect Leroy so much?
I said this to Mike as well that night. It really wasn't Mike that got to me. Like, for sure, Mike contributed to the end result and the decision. He definitely got into my head to some extent. But the thing that I really was wrestling with on the last day was just the feeling of like when Mickey left. So, one of my theories that I had from the beginning was that I thought that Mickey was the original traitor. So I, really felt strongly about that. There were some other powerful players like Kevin, Crystal, a few other people that also were like, yeah, we think Mickey's the one of the original traitors. So when Mickey got found out as a traitor and he leaves, he called out Leroy at the table. And he was like, if I was going to blackmail someone, it would be Leroy. So my thought process the whole time leading up to the decision after Mickey left was, okay, like there's a chance that Leroy could be the traitor. So then Mickey got into like that really messed me up. So then ever since then, I was like very, very much like, oh my goodness, like this could be, am I like blind to this? Because you start getting a bias. Like Leroy and I approached him. I said, let's work together. We had a really great bond. And then I wanted to take him to the end. I knew that, we would have a strong alliance. He was a good guy, very honest. And that's the game that I played as well. But then towards the end, Mickey leaving, Mickey ending up being a traitor, it almost like solidified the theory that I originally had was, oh, Mickey was one of the original traitors and he blackmailed Leroy. So that was like something that I really wrestled with, but then I went back and forth. Even until I made the decision that day, I was struggling I wasn't sleeping. And there was just a few other moments too where I went to Leroy and I said, let's get Mike out first. So let's do Travon, Mike, then Donna. Because I don't know if they aired this. Like I was a little drunk when we were watching the finale. I needed to like give myself courage. But
Fair.
there was a moment in the courtyard the last time that we all got to chat where Donna, I think they showed Donna sort of like acting a little unhinged and she was kind of just whatever. And I actually went to Donna and I said, Donna, like, do you want to play or what? Like your final five, like, let's play together. Let's vote together. So I had Donna's vote to take Mike out, and it was up to me if I also wanted to take Mike out at that moment. So that was like one of the plays that I had in my pocket. And I approached Leroy after talking to Donna and I said, Leroy, like, let's take Mike out first, Travon, then Mike. And that would have solved everything. Like, we would have won if that would have happened. But like, Leroy goes to me, he's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So there was like, that really like kind of messed me up too, because I'd already been suspecting Leroy as the traitor. So when Leroy said that, no, we're not doing that, I was like, what? Like, why doesn't he want to do that? Like, trust me, like I know what I'm doing. And then a few other things too, like after the mission, I said to Leroy, are you going to drive or should I? And Leroy, we're walking towards the cars and all of a sudden he takes a beeline and goes into the car with Travon and Donna without saying a word. So like I know that's like very circumstantial. Like obviously making that decision wasn't based on him going into the car, but there was just like all these little moments that I was like really trying to solidify, okay, like who's the traitor? Is it Mike or is it Leroy? I never suspected Donna, I never suspected Travon.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of a summary.
So I really like the thinking behind all these moves. My question comes where you said that you like suspect Donna the least. And now if you had gone to the final three with Donna and Leroy and successfully vote out Mike, is there any part of you that is still like, well, I don't want to take a shot on it actually being Leroy. Let's go ahead, me and Donna final two this thing and vote out Leroy? Still there?
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
No, yeah, just
Yeah. No, I definitely did consider that. That was a scenario that I had to consider that, okay, like I obviously, at the end of the day, I was going to protect myself at all costs. So I needed to have I need to have all the options. And that's like what I like to do in my life in general. I love having options. So that was like how I set myself up. I knew Travon was going to go. We all were unanimous in that decision. Donna was a little iffy, but me, Mike, and Leroy were unanimous in that. So it didn't matter what Donna wanted to do about Travon. So then I think like leading up to it, I knew that Donna was just going to be someone, honestly, like, sorry, Donna, but Donna was just collateral. Like she was just there if I needed her. And I had her in my pocket. She knew she was going to vote for Mike, which she did. Initially she was like, let's vote for Leroy. And I was like, no, I don't think Leroy's a traitor. He could be, but I don't think so. And I think I mostly pushed for that because I wanted to see if Mike was a traitor or not. But Leroy didn't want to go with that plan. And I honestly got scared as well because I was like, if me and Donna vote for Mike, then I just was really worried about the tie scenario. I didn't know what was going to happen if there was a tie. And, production was also like, we thought it was going to be a tie. So I don't know. I just fucked up. Like I messed up.
I wonder because I think that was a big popular question we got from our listeners, which was what would have happened in the event of a tie? Were you told after the fact what that could have looked like potentially, or?
I think what happens in the tie is that we vote again.
Okay.
And then I think there's like maybe a chance to discuss and then you vote again. And then I think you vote another time. And then I think it's like whatever the vote. I honestly, I still don't know. I don't know clearly. And I think that also messed with me. And the other thing too that you have to understand is that none of us were sleeping. Like we did not sleep
Right.
like a wink. We were like in this sort of traumatic survival instinct house where it was like dog eat dog. And just, like there was definitely also a part of me that was like, fuck, I just want to finish this game. Like I need to get out of here. Like, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah, I think a lot of the reasons for why I ended up doing what I did was like the analysis paralysis. Like I overthought.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, it's this big pressure cooker that you're in, and you have to look at all the angles, and it's not like you're getting concrete evidence anywhere. You're just going off of gut sus and whatever you're seeing, and the wrong conversation, the wrong walk, that's all that you might need to get you somewhere. Now, my question to you, Gurleen, is because, I know you've listened to some of our coverage. In the first half of the season, we're like, yeah, give us more Gurleen. Where's Gurleen? Why are we not seeing Gurleen? And we really got to this place where I think once Kevin was banished, you kind of emerged as the main narrator for like the faithful side. My question to you was, with regards to Mike, what were your reads on him before all this like final five situation went? Did you think he was a traitor, or did you just feel like he was a good ally?
I think that Mike played a similar game to me in the beginning. Like Mike just was really under the radar. Like if you
Mhm.
noticed, I never got voted once. Like no one put my name down ever. And I played that game on purpose. One of my, people that I really looked up to coming into this game was Suri from the US version. And I
Mhm.
really enjoyed her strategy. And I think Mike also had a similar strategy. Definitely, granted, there were people that were onto him, and he did get his votes, but he kind of was like skidding by. He wasn't too close with anyone. He wasn't really like revealing his cards. So I really didn't pay too much attention to him until later. So that's definitely like what worked for him. And that's, ultimately why he won as well, is that he really protected himself and he played when he needed to play.
Yeah. So you say you looked up to Suri. How do you think you would have done yourself as a traitor playing in the game?
Yeah, I feel like it could be 50-50. I could have been the worst traitor ever because I really was so genuine in the house. And part of my strategy was to be that really like sort of playful, sweet farmer and like, hey everyone, I have a pumpkin patch. Like I'm a pumpkin patch. Like I grow pumpkins. I make wine. I like, that was like sort of my energy in the house. And like a part of me also thinks that I could have been a great trader because I do have the ability to make people trust me and really like kind of just be on, believe me, and like I have a way to connect with people. So I really could have been a good trader, but I don't know, it's honestly really tough to put on that show for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's some
definitely.
untapped potential.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, honestly, maybe the next season, we'll see. I don't know. But
Mhm.
I honestly props to Mike and Kuzi. Like both of them killed it. Melby was good too. But Kuzi and Mike, like especially Kuzi, she's my girl. She killed it. She killed it.
When Kuzi was on the way out, right before in that episode, I believe we got confessional from you saying, "I think Kuzi is the traitor." Was there a world where you were considering keeping her in if you could, just so that you could cut her later on and like keep that and like that friend close who you probably wouldn't have taken a shot at you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you do get to see when I went to Leroy and I said, should we take Mike out? Like I
Hmm.
definitely considered taking Mike out over Kuzi at that time because Kuzi, I the more and more the game went on, the more and more I felt like I started to realize she was a traitor. Especially there was so much like evidence, her fight with May and then all of a sudden May being murdered. Like that was just a little too easy to ignore.
Hmm.
So that was really, solidifying my thoughts on her and just the way that she um she was kind of unraveling. Like there was definitely like she was being more emotional and I think it was getting to her as well. So there was my gut was just like, okay, I think she's a traitor. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think that again, like, I didn't feel like I had a lot of people that I was working with that really wanted to make a big move. Like if I had another strong player that I was working with that wanted to be strategic, like the way that I was thinking, there could have been like a different outcome, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Now, because of Kuzi, we get a lot of the season focusing on there has to be a traitor on this famous red team that once existed that you were a part of. Do you feel like that influenced your game in a positive way or super negative that were more eyes on you?
I think I was at the list of the people on the red team. I think I was definitely lowest on the list of who people were going to suspect. I know, like at the round table where Mel A was there, Mel A was definitely trying to call me out. There was a couple other people that were calling me out. Mike called me out, but I never really was too worried. I really, thankfully, like I kind of played a game where people really did trust me. But the red team theory did need to be squashed. And I think that was also a reason for why getting Kuzi out that night was important because I really didn't think that everyone else was going to let it go. And the red team's numbers were dwindling, whereas the blue team, their numbers were stronger than ours. So it was kind of like a means to an end to get Kuzi out at that time to really satisfy the other people. And even like the next day, I was like, can you guys let that go now? Like, hello, like she was on the red team, she's a traitor.
Um,
So yeah.
I have one last question for you here, Gurleen. So
Sure.
when we were at the Fire of Truth and it is one vote for Mike, one vote for Leroy, and now it's your turn to vote or reveal your vote, and you have this speech, a very well thought out speech that you're going through, talking about your head and your heart. You put us in a blender because I thought, okay, Mike got very close, but it's clearly that Mike couldn't get to her. Can you speak to that speech and what was going through your head as you were saying all these things out before you revealed your vote?
Yeah, I didn't really plan that speech at all. It honestly just came out of me. And I think the
Hmm.
speech that I was giving was really revealing why I voted the way I voted. And it was also ultimately revealing the reason why I didn't win is because I went with my mind and I didn't go with my heart. My gut, my heart, trusted Leroy, but I got so into my own mind and my own mind started to overthink and overanalyze. And that's definitely a conversation that I've had with Leroy and a few other castmates is that I really just overanalyzed. And that's the speech that I gave that tonight I'm not going to go with my heart and my gut. Like, why the hell did I abandon my own, compass? So I don't know why I gave that speech. It was the most embarrassing thing ever because who the hell does that? And then, I obviously had it wrong. I think it was like I was trying to outsmart Leroy. Like that was where I was coming from. Like, oh, you can't get me, I'm gonna get you. But obviously I was wrong. I looked like a fool. But that was the reason for why I said that.
Love the
Listen,
dramatics. I very much appreciated
flair.
the speech.
Yeah. It was good
There
TV.
was literally it came out of me. So I don't know. I didn't even plan to say it. I don't know. It was really cringy to watch. I will tell you that. Very cringy to watch. Okay. You have to know how hard it was.
Well, Gurleen, it's been a delight to get to talk to you. I do feel like you were one of the breakout stars of the season for us, especially as people who we weren't familiar with your work on the other show before you had come on. So we were getting our first look at Gurleen, and I was very happy to see you represent and listen, no matter what the outcomes is, what the results is, you were one of 2 people who made it all the way to the end without getting voted out or murdered. So that's a huge accomplishment. We'll take those.
For sure. For sure.
And we hope this isn't the last of you we see. We hope to see you on other shows in the future, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I hope so too. Yeah, no, it's been a blast. I loved playing the game. I love psychological, games and things like this. So I loved it. Obviously, I had wished for a better outcome. I wholeheartedly apologize to Leroy for not making, the better decision, but I, did what I did for the reasons that I have. And good game to Leroy, and obviously congratulations to Mike. And it is what it is. It's great. I have no regrets. Actually, I do, but that's fine. Obviously, I do. That's something that you're supposed to say, but as I said it, I was like, no, I definitely do.
I don't mean this.
No way. But it's all good. It's all good.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Gurleen. We do appreciate it, and we hope you have a nice day.
Yeah, thanks so much. See you later.
Take care. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Traitors Around the World podcast. You're here with myself, Pooya and Brian, with Brian Scally, my co-host, and we are joined by Leroy. Leroy, it's a delight to have you on, but first thing we have to ask is, how are you feeling after all of this is said and done now?
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I've been listening to you all season. So I knew this time was coming. So it still hurts. I thought I would be in a better position at this point. I'm a little bit better now, but it was a tough loss. I thought I had it in the bag, and to have that alliance going into the end, definitely it hurt a little deeper than I actually thought it would.
It was tough. Yeah. Can you let us know how closely and how long had you actually been that tight with Gurleen? Because on the show, we definitely see hints that you guys are a pair for a long time, but I don't think we get to know just how long that had been a real duo in the game.
Yeah, so it's interesting how Gurleen and I ended up connecting along the way. So as you guys would have noticed, initially it was me, Crystal, and I had a couple odd other Gurpyar was kind of another one of those faithfuls, Mickey kind of a little bit, and then there was Gurleen and Kevin and Fierce and that alliance, and so we were kind of just hovering around each other for the first 4 or 5 days until some people started kind of getting off the show and being banished and murdered, and then that's when Gurleen and I started to really connect, and from then it got stronger and stronger throughout the show until obviously you guys saw at the end there. I thought we had it in the bag. I thought we were so tight and so connected and trusted each other so hard that it was I thought it was in concrete. I thought it was written in stone. That's how surprised I was at the end. And I'm sure a lot of you probably were at the same time.
Oh, yeah. We spent 2 weeks, Leroy. Basically, from when Kuzi goes out, we looked ahead and we thought, this seems like it's locked up for Leroy and Gurleen. They're each going to get that sweet, sweet split pot. And what's funny is actually after we interviewed May asked us, well, who do you think is going to win? And I looked at May. I was like, May, this is Leroy and Gurleen's game to lose. It's theirs. They've got this. So yeah, we, count us as people who were very much floored. Because how did you feel in the moment when Gurleen she's about to reveal her vote. She starts talking about, she's doing the speech and it's building up. She's like, I was going to go with my heart, but I was almost about to forget to go with my head. And this person nearly had me. Leroy, I'll tell you this from the outside. I'm still sitting there being like, Mike nearly got it, but she knows better. She's going to vote for Mike here. So did you think she was voting for Mike, or did you think the tides were turning during that speech?
So there was a moment there. So when we all put the dust on the fire and we all went to revote, there's a part of me that thought, okay, we're going to blindside Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's just going to want to stop it there. Naive thinking.
Uh-huh.
But when he threw it on the fire and he said, vote again, I was like, oh, I think I'm in a bad position here. Like, I did not expect that. So I was like, something's up. And so when it got to Gurleen and she started talking, I was like, oh my God, it's coming at me. And then she started talking and I was like, oh, you had me fooled. You almost had me. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to vote for Mike now. I was like, that's how I felt. And I was like, and then I saw my name and I was like, oh my God, this actually happened. And I had, the money was spent. I had already had it in the bank. There was so much already happening with that money. That's how confident I thought we had it. But she definitely played with my emotions at the end there.
Yeah, that was a tough one. We thought it was so locked up, as obviously you did. Now, looking back, was there something you think that you could have changed in order to maybe lock in Gurleen a little bit? Or do you think that, why do you think the doubt set in her mind there?
Honestly, I have to give a lot of credit to Mike. Mike played an unbelievable game. And I didn't know that, from the conversations that we had with Mike, just, you see him in confessionals and he's unbelievable. He's a mastermind. But when you're talking to him, he always talked to a person on their level. Where he was, he met that person. So I never really saw how intelligent he actually was. So I think just kind of going into that, it was just kind of, I don't know. It really threw me off, how that came to be. It's just, I don't know. I'm still kind of floored by how we ended up in that situation.
Yeah. The last couple rounds when we had seen you talk about Mike on the show, you kept insinuating that in the last couple the rounds, Mike has been good with me. I feel good with Mike. When did your connection with Mike start building? Because it really did seem by the end game that he was someone that you seemed to be willing to work with, and he seemed to be willing to work with you.
Yeah, so came a point, I think it was day 4 or 5, where Mike and I started talking. I literally did not talk to Mike probably for the first 4 or 5 days. And there was a point where I was like, I got to start talking to him. I got to get around a little bit. And I started talking with Mike, and then we started connecting, and I was telling him my theories on the red team theory and everything that happened with, the death row and who I think should go first and second. And he was in line with me with all of that. And little did I know, I was obviously talking to a traitor this entire time. But I thought it was okay, all right, I got someone to ride with me for a bit. I did have my skepticism about him because he did some other things that made me think he could be a traitor. But for a while there, I just rolled with him because he was entertaining my ideas, which I was like, okay, all right, well, let's go with it. It's as long as I get the results that I want, I'm happy. And it's not, as long as it's not me, I'm good. So, near the end there, I think it was more of a process of elimination where, I trusted Gurleen so much, and I knew that I had to take her to the end to have my best chance. And, it was more who did I trust the least? And first of all, it was Travon, especially now we're kind of flash forward to the finale. Mm-hmm. I did not trust Travon at all. I'm sure you saw some moments where he's talking to me. I have a blank stare. I'm I'm not even listening to you because I think you're a traitor. And so I'm just not listening to Travon. And I should have been, I should have been it got the best of me. So when I was looking at the series of events near the end, it had to be Travon because I knew Travon was never going to take me to the end. I think he, because I boldly told him I was going to vote for him at one point. So I couldn't really trust him. Donna had my name in her mouth near the end. So I couldn't really trust her. And she kind of flipped back and forth. So I was like, okay, the only way that I can get to the fire pit here is if I can ride with Mike and Gurleen. So I knew Gurleen was kind of my ride or die. So Travon, Donna, and then get Mike at the end. And that was kind of my plan. And Gurleen and I talked it through and I thought we had it. And clearly we didn't.
I mean,
So-
y'all were legitimately, Leroy, you were Gurleen's vote away from having played the perfect faithful game to get to the end. Like, work all the way to the end, voting out people that you didn't think would just work with you, whether or not they were faithful or traitor, get there to the traitor, boot the traitor, get the money. I still think part of me is like, no, that 50K is in his bank account. Like, he won. That's how close you were. It is wild, man. So when you got the call up to participate in this, had you heard of the Traitors? And if you hadn't, like, how much prep did you do before going in as far as watching the other seasons? Franchise?
Yeah, it was funny. So I got the call. To be honest, I hummed and hawed about it. I was like, I don't know if this is my kind of jam. Like, you guys might know that I was on another reality show that was a wilderness show.
Mhm.
And so it's 40 days in the wild. I like the physical side of things. And that was my jam. This here was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. This is like not me. Not a Big Brother fan. I love Survivor, but I'm not a Big Brother. Like, I don't know enough about the game. I don't watch it enough. So I just binge watched. I think it was Australia, US, and the UK. So I started watching those. And when I finally said yes to them, I was already on my way and I haven't even watched all the seasons yet. I was in my hotel room just before we're about to start the game. And I was like, clicking to the end to try to watch the last episode, see how it all finished for, I think, the US one. I was like, okay, that's the winner. That's the strategy. And I just did my best. But to be honest, when I went into the show, I had my way of wanting to play. And it was, just be me, true to me as best I possibly could. I knew the game was going to try to push me in a direction to maybe lie or deceit and do those things. But I was willing to kind of flex on that. But I wanted to go in and I wanted to stay just low enough to let all the noise, all the people who needed to be right, all the people who had opinions, loud and proud, that needed to say their things, say what they had to for the first, 4 or 5 or half the show, and then really kick it into gear. But I also had to be active enough, just active enough, so that I wasn't banished at the round table. So I was kind of, going in through relationships the entire time. And as you guys would have heard, like, I did have a pretty good social game. I really connected with people. And I think that really did push me a long way in this game, because I think people really saw that I was a faithful.
So, yeah, I think you played a phenomenal faithful game. How do you think you would have done as a traitor? Did you come in here hoping to be a traitor? Like,
I did. I was, in my real life, I like to have control. Anytime I'm in control, I feel like I can push, an agenda the way that I wanted to. So I was like, okay, my best shot is probably to go in as a traitor. So I asked to be a traitor, but when they didn't select me, I was so relieved. And I knew, I was like, okay, now I can really, truly be me. And I think I have the best shot at this way. And my best scenario, my true scenario, and I told him, I said, like, my best scenario would be go in as a faithful, gain the trust, be me, create those relationships, and hopefully be recruited about halfway through the show, maybe 4 or 5 days in, and then just maintain those relationships all the way through. Didn't happen, obviously.
yeah. So about that halfway point, we see you had been working seemingly with Kevin for a little bit. Now, at his banishment, you talked about how there were like tactics and manipulations in the game you were not such a big fan of. So can you speak a little bit more onto that? Because I don't know if we got to see exactly what was going on.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because I remember the podcast that you guys were talking about this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to defend this at some point. Okay, all right. And you know what? It wasn't much more than just seeing how he kind of moved from, one conversation to the next, and you weren't necessarily a part of that conversation. So, you know, he had his alliances, but I wasn't familiar with this type of game show. So, you know, you could see him going off and having individual conversations with all these people. And, you know, and you kind of felt like a little bit left out. And then we went into the round table a couple of times without necessarily, you know, kind of being on the same page or having all the information together. So I wasn't sure if he was my true alliance. But I will be honest, like when I first got on the show, it was my first thought at Traitors, Mel B, Rick, and Kevin. So that was like, I had that in my head. And once I executed Mel B, I was like, okay, let's follow that path and let's see if we can go down. And I went to Rick. No, obviously I was wrong. And that one still hurts me. But when we got to Kevin, just at that point where he did unravel a little bit, like he was so textbook, he was so like on the point. And once we saw him at the round table kind of unravel a little bit, and he didn't have enough time to really explain his thought process, and he threw me under the bus and Kuzi under the bus. That to me, I was like, what am I missing here? Because he didn't tell me any of that. And so at that point, I was like, do I take my shot now to really see if he is a traitor and hopefully get him early, or I'm going to have to continue to ride with him for a long time? And I think that was my shot. And I think everybody else at the round table kind of felt the same way. So it was unfortunate because I do feel like if he would have stuck in the game and we would have gotten past that, I think he would have been a great ally right to the end.
Yeah, I do see, like, let's play it out where he stays in that night. I think him, yourself, and Gurleen would have been a trio. And I think at that point as well, like, you two did just fine without him, but that extra backup would have helped, especially with him just constantly being like, Mike, you don't seem keen on the game, but you're more keen about tic-tac-toe. So I feel like he would have maybe read into him a little bit more. But ultimately, again, Leroy, I think you did phenomenal. You did say that you were on a survival show and that this wasn't really your jam. Now, having gone through this jam, the psychological, the strategic stuff, and survival, you put those two together, you get the lovely show called Survivor that you do say you enjoy. Would you be keen on trying out for that? Would you do that? Would you embark on that journey? Yeah.
100%. That is the ultimate goal. I think that's why this was pretty cool for me to experience, because going in, honestly, like I just want to survive one day. Like there was this conversation about, I just want to experience the show in its full capacity, you know, live a day and go through a mission and go through a round table. And then it just kind of extended. You're like, oh my God, I'm still here. And then you get sucked into the game and you start playing the game, and it's really neat to kind of see how you can navigate through, you know, something like this. But Survivor is definitely something I would jump at 100%, because I think it'll take both sides of, like you said, Pooya, it's, you know, the best of both worlds and see what I can do with it. Because I did make some money. I made some money for Mike.
Yeah.
You know, the bank that's there. I did make him some money. So I think I can do a challenge or two.
There we go. Yeah, you find your way over there. I feel like I got a pretty solid winner pick lined up.
I guess you know.
There, please, Leroy. So at the end, with the Mike and even the Donna votes specifically, how much of those were, I think this person is a traitor, versus it's going to be just me and Gurleen at the end there. Sorry, guys.
We'll start with Travon.
Or yeah, sure, any of them.
Yeah, well, Travon, again, like there was enough information on him that it was one of those things I couldn't move past without voting him out. There's the lying about his career, and there was a couple other things that, along the way that kind of made me unsettled about him. So that was kind of more an easy pick. Donna, and I think you guys can tell, we pegged her as a faithful very early in the game, and she came for the ride. And at one point I was like, could she have just been playing? Because she so this is the thing I don't think she had like a drama experience, or she was a drama teacher or something like that, or she did plays. So I was like, oh my gosh, is she like acting this whole thing out? Like, could she be playing on it? Near the end, you're looking at everything, you're like, okay, I think you need to go just in case, but I think you're a faithful. So it was one of those things. Okay, I don't think you deserve to, kind of be in the pot with us. But again, for me, that was more survival to get to the fire pit and have my best chance with Gurleen. And so the vote against Donna was an easy one for, I think, all of us.
And then with Mike, do you think that was Mike's a traitor, or we want to make this prize pot a little bigger for the two of us?
Scally, I know you like to, just push people out.
That's Scally. You've read it.
I honestly thought that one of them was a traitor, and I knew Gurleen was highly unlikely. So back to that process of elimination, who was more likely to be a traitor? And there were some things that Mike had did. So there was this thing about Mel B earlier in the game, where I confronted Mel B. Everybody saw it. And a lot of people were like, okay, are you going to open up at the round table? And do you want to say a few pieces? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll open up at the round table. Mike and I had brief conversations, and I think he caught wind of that. And maybe he's talked, maybe he hasn't, but I went to go open my mouth to talk at the round table, and boom, Mike comes out guns blazing. I was like, oh,
he stole your thunder.
Well, yeah, but again, I was at a point in that game where I was like, you can take whatever you want as long as I get the result I need, I'm good. And I remember just looking around the table at a couple of people, and I was like, okay, all right, we'll just ride this. And at that point, I was like, I always questioned him a little bit, and I always had he was a suspect to me, just because he wanted that thunder, he wanted that to prove himself as a faithful. And he did something similar with Travon later in the game too. And I was like, okay, he kind of did it again. He wanted the honor. He wanted the rights to push Travon out of the game as well and put his stamp on it. And near the end, when it was us at the final fire pit, I was like, if there's anybody, Gurleen hasn't done me wrong, and it's got to be Mike. And I wasn't going to take any risks. I wasn't going to take any chances. If I rode with Gurleen right to the end and she happened to be a traitor, kudos to her. But it obviously didn't work out. Oh my God.
Well, Leroy, we do appreciate you giving us your time. It's been a delight getting to talk to you. I truly hope that the Survivor gods let you in, because listen, Canadians have been doing really well since they've been allowed to apply on this show. So would be a treat to get to watch you play there. If you were asked to get brought back for another Traitors season, would you play again? Would you be willing?
As emotionally draining and exhausting as that show is, I would. Absolutely. I think I have redemption year.
Unfinished business ready to go. I love it. All right. Well, Leroy, thank you so much for your time, man. We do appreciate it, and we hope you have a nice day.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Traitors Wrap Up podcast. I'm your host, Pooya and Brian. With me is my co-host, Brian Scally, and we are joined here today by the great Donna. Donna, so happy to see you here. We've been excited for this interview. How are you feeling at this hour?
I'm great. It's really nice to see you. And I should start this off that we can hold fingers up for forks. If it gets to be too much, you just let me know, because we don't want anybody getting hurt while I talk.
Donna, how was watching the finale play out? It was a very fun season. So how was that watching back for you?
It was incredible to watch it back, right? We never know how it's going to show up or what's going to happen. With my ending it, I didn't get to see the last part. And so to watch it all back and see how they were going to do it's been an absolutely fun ride. It really has.
Donna, what was your experience with the Traitors when you got the call or when you got the approval to be on the show? Had you watched the show before? Had you looked at the other franchises?
Yeah, so when I was moving through the audition process, I'm like, oh gosh, this looks like it could be getting really serious. So I'd best watch something. So I watched the US just to make sure that if they were going to choose me, that I was able to do all of the things and how I'd feel about going to the show. So that happened prior to approval. And once approved, I watched UK and Australia just to get a better feel for the game and see if there's anything that would be helpful going in.
So then, Donna, after you watch those other versions, you come in and Did you ask to be a faithful, or were you looking to be a traitor? Was that your hope coming in?
Yeah, I knew I'd be lousy as a traitor, and so I was bad enough as a faithful. I There was part of me that wanted to be a traitor, but I knew that I was kind of the one that maybe you would slip in halfway through, so then I could come in and smash them all and take the game. I'm too clumsy of a word person to, yeah. Yeah, if the faithfuls ever want to win and I get called all stars, then please like cast me as a traitor and it's guaranteed I'm going to slip up somewhere along the way. Guaranteed. I said I'm not a faithful, so like that happened.
The start of your journey, we saw you have
Mhm.
a bit of a rough start in the manor with everything going on. Can you speak a little bit to your experience at the start of the game?
Yeah. So, going in, you're already the new kid on the block. You get clocked kind of hard at the table. It leaves people with a bit of a flavor in their mouth that maybe is a bit bitter or whatever. And so, like, I anticipated at some point in time the manor was coming for all of us. It's going to break us down. I was just really grateful that I got my stuff out of the way in the beginning. And I think that people can really see from moving forward that there's a moment where Donna shows up in her Punky Brewster sweater, and that's it. Game on. Let's go. I'm going to play my game now. Right. Never mind what everybody else is out there chattering about. I've got a game to play and I'm going to do it my way. So I had my breakdown out of the way in the very beginning, and it only made me stronger as we moved along, for sure.
Now, did that early target ending up on your back change how you ended up playing the game of the traitors, or do you think that you just continued to be true to yourself and play the same way?
Yeah, a really big element of being true to myself came in there because I wanted to come in taking the faithful. Like, if I was going to get cast as a faithful, I really wanted to buck the system and the faithfuls to win. And really, I like to go against the grain. Why make it easy? And so I very early on was left kind of playing my own game anyways. I'm a big personality, and people will dance around going, "What is he doing?" As we see, but I stuck true to my plans of the game that I had to play, and then whatever fell out from a castmate perspective, from a team playing perspective, then I was going to work with that going into. I had a really big open heart going into all of this, and wanted to do it as authentically as I humanly could, despite whether I was going to be a traitor or lies we may have to tell going in.
In the last third of the game, Donna, we got to see a
Yeah.
couple of confessionals from you. Even as far as at the round table, where you basically insinuated that I've made my peace. I am okay going up there and getting banished as the faithful. Can you speak
Yeah.
to what got you to this place where you were just very much like, put me up. I'm fine. I'm fine to go out and prove that I'm faithful at this point.
Yeah, there were some of us that were genuinely interested in taking a group of faithfuls for a win. And it got to a point where literally, if you need me out of the game and it makes a clearer picture for you, I've got to get comfortable with this. I've already gone home just about once already, and you have to get. We don't know how long we're going to make. We don't know if we're going to be murdered. We're going to be banished. The twists that come, and so I was quite comfortable to go up in flames in the circle of truth if I had to, just so other people that I appreciated playing the game with could make it further. People thought it was nuts to live by the sword and die by the sword, but it gets to a point where if you don't see your end game in sight, or you aren't willing to take some of these hits, then are you truly playing the game? I could take those it was a calculated risk for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I really did want the faithfuls to win.
So, okay, I know that you were ultimately team faithful, but Donna, who else did you find yourself working with really closely throughout the game?
Well, as you could clearly see, we had red team, blue team starting from the beginning. We had team leftovers. And so team leftovers, blue team really was the stuff that had we been able to not have someone eliminated. And there was this quiet little movement going on where some of us were recognizing that the reality TV people were coming for the non-reality TV people. And if people didn't see that coming, then you weren't observant in the game and able to catch that, because it was pitted from the start. So you had to be really observant in gameplay to catch that. And I was onto that right instantly. And then I started losing some of my teammates, and then the odds got stacked against us. And then it
Donna, one of the things that got me very much in the finale was you had voted Mike. At this point, you've been voting Mike, you've been looking at Mike, and then you seem to have taken your foot off the gas a little bit with Mike at the end there. What changed for you with Mike at that point?
Nothing changed with Mike. It only appeared that my foot was off the gas.
Okay.
Say more.
Right? Yeah, right. I started dropping Mike's name around game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And by game 6, there was a tell he had.
Ooh.
And when Kuzi went down, Mike said something at the table that I had spoken to Kuzi, and the only way Mike would have known is if Kuzi had told him. So I clocked that and kept that to myself. And I knew by 100% when Kuzi was out that Mike was the traitor.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. And I also knew that the trajectory was we had red team, blue team going on. So for me to see the money, I had spoken earlier on, and I'm like, I felt and I knew that I was going to make the fire. I didn't think I was going to get the money. And so when these things started to come to place, I'm like, and here we go. We're going to go into this spot and this is going to happen. But I can hold my head high and play a really authentic game as far as one could in the game. And I just decided to have some fun with it all. Really.
There we go. So since you were so convinced that Mike was a traitor, did you make any pitch to Gurleen and Leroy at the end? Like, let's us 3 go to the final 3.
Did I make a final pitch? I don't recall making a final pitch. When everybody walks away from you, you don't have opportunity to make pitches. So when you're left by yourself, you can't really do the things you want to. And I'm like, fine, the chips will fall where they may. And if a traitor wins, it'll be a great day.
Yeah, because we did see that. We did see everyone kind of ostracizing you a little bit, having conversation without you. So I love that energy of, hey, if you don't want my information and this is your downfall, I'll just have a front seat to watch it happen.
Because you see me say it. It's like if they want to exclude me, then that's fine. I've got my thing to do and I'm going to do my thing.
There we go.
So
Donna, you talked about already the prospect of an all-star season, so I'm assuming you'd be willing to come back to the Traitors. Would you do the Traitors again? Would you do another show?
Yeah, I most certainly would. I was actually joking at the end of it. I'm like, man, if you need anybody because somebody drops out in the French shooting, then I could probably go in because I really, really got it took me a bit to get running in the game, and you can watch it all you want, but to get the feel for it, you have to wait till you're in it. And so as the only medium that has gone this far in the game, All-Stars best be calling me. So I make good TV as far as where I'm sitting, regardless of what people saw or how they did. I'd best be getting that call as the franchise holder.
You absolutely kept us entertained throughout the season. And I do love what you said about, a lot of people playing their first time in these games. We do see them get a feel for the game. And then when they come back, they know the full info. So they operate absolutely differently. So let's say you get that call up. They're like, hey, franchise player, come in. We need you. You want to be a traitor or you want to try faithful all over again? Where do you want to go?
Do I really want people to know how I want to play the game?
Oh. We will take our answer off the air.
There we go. Now,
I'm a lot smarter than I let on, and you have to play a pretty smart game to be looking pretty dumb out there. So,
Donna, do you think that your skills as a psychic medium came into play at all during the game?
Yes and no.
Okay.
What I was able to observe in myself is very early in the game, I had this feeling and knew that I was going to be at the fire. I'm like, I didn't know how, I didn't know who would be standing with me. I just felt it in this gut spot that's never steered me wrong. And then I'm literally in my room going, all right, you guys, I'm supposed to be here as a psychic medium proving all of this. Can you make the traitors glow red or something for me? Come on now, if it's going to be this way. And so intuitively, it actually worked the opposite to my life, where I don't see a lot for me and I see a lot for other people. This time I was really on to me and like how I should move myself about the game. And I knew I'm like, I'm in my audition and I'm like, if you guys get me there, I'll get as far as I can go. Don't know that I'm going to win the money, but I will go as far as one can take it in the game if you get me on that show.
Well,
So I did.
Donna, your energy is unmatched. We're so thankful we got a chance to
Thank you.
talk to you here. We
Thank
hope to
you.
see you, you know, in whichever role. We won't talk about it because we don't want to give anything away to anybody watching this, but we hope to see you back on our TVs in some capacity. And we do thank you for your time here today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to connect with you guys. I've had my eyes on you guys, and it's been absolutely great to connect. Thank you so much for watching and for your support and the love, which was hard to come by in this show. So thank
Of
you.
course. Our pleasure.
I appreciate it. All right.
All right. Take care, Donna.
Have a great day. You too. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Traitors Around the World podcast. I'm your host, Pooya and Brian. With me is my co-host, Brian Scally, and we're joined here by Travon. Travon, how are you feeling at this hour?
Honestly, I have a feeling of like relief. You know, it's like it was always so tense watching every single episode because I'm just like, oh, I know what happens. I know the play I'm going to make here, and I know it's going to, you know, get me in the end afterwards. But now that everything is said and done, I'm just like, I can actually breathe now.
Travon, you had quite the ride on this season of The Traitors, to say the least. Now, what do you think got you in that spot? Because I don't know, you seem super nice guy. Why all of a sudden was your name up on every single round, basically?
Honestly, I think it's just that chaotic energy. And I think Mike said it best, where it's like nobody knew what to do with me. They didn't know, wait, is he being a traitor? Is he a faithful? Is this all just an act? Or is that just how he is? So I think because there was all that ambiguity around, I think that's the reason why people were kind of just like, you know, let's just throw his name out there and let's just hope that, you know, we get enough people to get him out. And, you know, just like glitter, I'm always here. Can't get rid of me that easily.
Had you watched the other franchises before embarking on your own Traitors journey?
So before I got the call to be on Traitors, I had never even heard of the show. So of course I did my research and I watched season 1 of the US, was hooked after episode 1, and I was like, thank God, I cannot believe I got a chance to, you know, participate in this. And then watched the full series of US, did a little bit of UK before I had to leave. The turnaround time between the call and getting, you know, on the flight to Montreal was very short. So I really tried my best to absorb as much as I can from the US one in order to, you know, get me through the game.
The number one question that I have, Travon, is why did you come clean about your job? Why?
Okay, well, first things first, I need to explain why I even lied in the first place. Because I just mentioned that I watched the US, I'm gonna blame Shelby from the US season for the reason why I lied. She came into this show and she was like, I'm a public relations manager and I'm gonna lie and say I'm a kindergarten teacher. And I was rewatching that. I'm just like, why would you lie about your career? Like, I don't get it. And you know, I was talking to other friends or whatever, like, yeah, no, when you go on the shows like this, you have to lie. You can't tell people you're in PR. That's gonna raise so many flags. I'm like, is it? Okay, sure, whatever. I'll go in there with this lie. And I chose a career, I chose a profession that I've already done before. So I used to be a surfer many, many years ago. So any stories or whatever I had to share was just real, you know, real 10 years ago. But the reason why I came clean was because I realized at that point in the competition, like, it's a huge social game. Like, you really do need to form good connections with others. And I just felt like I wasn't being my authentic self. I was being truthful with how I was playing the game, but it was just that one stupid lie that was sitting in the back of my head. I'm just like, why is that still there? So like, let me come clean. And I think at that point in the competition, I was already ready to just go home anyway. So if that's what they were going to use to send me home, I was like, cool, whatever. I didn't get out on episode 1, so I'm cool with that. And yeah, that's why I came clean. I really wanted that opportunity to really form those connections. And also, I really thought May was a traitor, and May was really both on and off camera was always like nudging me, being like, "Yeah, so you're a server, huh? Wink, wink." And in my delusion, I thought that she was going to use that information against me. I thought she was going to be like, "Well, you know, like assuming that she was a traitor, she was going to say something along the lines of like, well, you know, I think Travon is lying about his career. And if he's lying about his career, who knows what else he could be lying about?" So my thought process was like, let me get ahead of it before it goes sideways. But it also ended up biting me in my butt a few times throughout the series.
You know, I did not expect Shelby to be catching strays today, I will say. So
I know, deep cut.
now, Travon, coming into this game, were you always looking to play as a faithful, or were you coming in hoping to be a traitor on the show?
Oh, I wanted to be a traitor so badly. I went in there and I'm like, I got this. I'm going to be a traitor. How can they not choose me? I thought I was so well spoken. I really thought Karina and we were vibing in that little interview. But the moment the blindfolds went on and she was walking around the table, I'm like, oh my God. It just left my body. I'm like, please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. I don't want to be a traitor. Please, Lord God, do not touch me. And that route and that selection process, it was long. Like I was watching the edit and I was like, okay, in the edit it seems long, but it was even longer behind the scenes. So she just kept walking and walking, and because she touched Mel B, who was sitting directly beside me, I did feel her that close to me. I'm like, oh Lord, please don't touch me. When she didn't, I had to also watch how I gave away that sigh of relief, because I didn't want that sigh of relief to also be looked at as like, oh, he got what he wanted. He's a traitor. But now all this to say is thank God I wasn't selected, because I barely got out of this game alive as a faithful. I don't know how to do as a traitor.
It seems like it'd be a fun watch, I do have to say.
Yeah, make some good a lot of good chaotic energy would have been there. I don't know if Mike or Kusi or Mel would have appreciated that.
Oh, I'd be seated. I would be seated front row with popcorn, ready to watch it play out. That would have been so much fun.
Oh Lord.
Travon, so let's real quick fast forward to the end of your journey here, where you get voted out in the final roundtable, and you are robbed, sir. You are robbed of having your exit speech. Did you have something prepared? Did you have any idea of how you wanted to do the reveal?
Yeah, I was gonna say something petty along the lines of like, well, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Like, I'm a faithful, but I know y'all already knew that. Well, congratulations, Mike, and I just would have left, because I just knew it was him. And I was talking about this with a friend, and they're like, would have been able to say that? I'm like, well, I was a faithful, and I didn't really have concrete proof on Mike anyway, so I probably could have gotten away with saying it. But somebody like Melissa or Kuzi, they probably would have been able to say that. But I just knew. That's why in that roundtable, even online, people were like, he wasn't fighting, he wasn't pushing back. Because I'm like, they all knew I was a faithful. They all knew what their plan was. Gurleen and Leroy already had their alliance, and I thought Donna and I were cool. I really thought that we had like a connection or whatever. I didn't think she would vote against me, but like I said, looking at that final five, I just knew I wasn't going to make it past that second roundtable.
Well, it was tough. It was tough. Now, Travon, earlier in the game, we did see you went against what your heart wanted to do by voting out Mel A, and you had a very tough time with that. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, that was a very exhausting day. I think that was the same day that we had that barrel run, so I was already physically drained. I don't know if anybody mentioned about the food on set. The food was so bad, so I wasn't eating. So of course there was just a lot of physical stuff wrong with me. But then I think the thing is that Melissa, I think out of everybody on the cast, Melissa A was the person who I vibe with the most. And I didn't believe her to be a traitor. In my mind, I'm just like, she's not. But she was giving away subtleties that I was just like, wait, is she a traitor? All this time, I was wondering why I made it as far as I did in that competition. And I was like, maybe it's because she was keeping me close. And, she was doing a lot of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge things about it. And I'm just like, wait, what does that even mean? And when you're in that show, it's every little action just becomes something that you just get so paranoid over. And when I was talking to Leroy, he was saying the exact same thing. He's like, yeah, she did the same thing to me. And I was just like, oh no, like, what does that mean? Maybe she is a traitor. And I guess because I was always voting against the group the whole time, I knew the votes were going for Melissa. And I was just like, okay, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there is something there. Maybe I should fight against this feeling and just vote. And when I did, and she was like, yeah, no, like, I'm faithful. It's like, I knew it. It's like, it just hit me, because I was just like, that's the thing about this competition. It's like, when you trust your gut and you go in a direction and then you're wrong, it's like, damn. Or when you align your gut with what other people are saying and then you're wrong, it's just like, well, like, I can't. It was just a matter of being frustrated, of knowing that I can't trust my own gut and I can't trust what even other people are saying at this time too. So I truly was just like at a loss. And I was just like, I can't. How am I supposed to maneuver this competition if I can't even trust anything or anyone?
Yeah. At that point in the show, I really had felt like because it did feel like you were checking out a little bit.
Mm.
So color me very impressed when then fast forward and you're the detective who's putting together the Mike case. You're like, listen, Kuzi left, wrote Mike with 3 exclamation points. That's Kuzi telling us that it's Mike. And I was like, okay, Travon's cooking. Let's see where this goes.
Listen, it was just, I don't know, it was just so obvious. And mind you, Gurpyar being eliminated after Mike's thing, I'm like, okay, hold on. I know I'm not the only one who just noticed that. But because again, I was sitting here on Lonely Island, I'm just like, I'm not gonna bring it up. So I already picked up on that. And then y'all already know I was just going in on Kevin. And that just went left. But to know that to find out afterwards that Kevin was really just a strong player, and he's also saying Mike, I'm like, okay. Add Mary now to the mix. Mary's also saying this. So I'm like, I'm putting all the pieces together, and it just made so much sense to go after Mike. And it is Mike. He was so quiet the first, half of the competition, and then all of a sudden now he's speaking up, and I'm just like, hold on one second, like what? And the thing is, what frustrated me the most is that I talked to Donna, I talked to Gurleen, I talked to Leroy, and I was just really like, it's him. And they were like, yeah, I think it's him too. I think it's him too. And I'm thinking, okay, good, we finally got the numbers, we can finally get him out, and then it goes left. And I'm just like, what? Is it me again? Am I wrong? Oh my god. And it's just, that's why a lot of times I just seem so checked out at times, because I'm just like, even when I feel like I'm on the money and I can feel it in my bones, it's just, no, like, am I off again? even at that the last breakfast, I literally turned to Mike and I said, Mike, you know what? I don't think you're a traitor. I think I was just off. And I noticed it after the fact that he did look like he was relieved, and I should have picked up on that to be like, oh crap, that's why he was relieved. But I'm glad to see I was such a thorn in his butt that latter half of the season.
Yeah, I would love that multiple times in the finale. He's like, if I was a traitor, Travon, I would have murdered you a long time ago.
And the thing is, that was my strategy. My strategy was to keep calling Mike's name out, knowing that he can't touch me because it would just look way too obvious. And he knew that too. So that's why at that point I didn't even care. I was just like, it's Mike, it's Mike, it's Mike. And even if Mike wasn't a traitor, I figured that whoever the other traitor would have been just fine, because then they would have thought, okay, great, we can leave him alone. He's so clueless and he can just keep skating by. So I kind of felt like I was safe no matter what if I just kept calling out his name.
So you were blindsided, I believe, at that last round table. It didn't seem like people gave you the chance to really let you know that they were coming for you. Now, how'd you made it past that final 5 vote? Like, what was your end game goal? Where were you looking to get to the end with?
Honestly, that's the thing. I didn't have that end goal in mind with the people with me, and I should have. Looking back on it, I think it was after that Trebuchet mission, I don't think they showed it, but it was me, Mickey, and Donna in a car, and I guess Gurleen, Leroy, and Mike were in the other car. And I'm just thinking to myself, and I was talking about this with Donna and Mickey when we did our little viewing, I'm like, if I just talked to us, and if we could just got the numbers together, we could have just taken out Mike, or even if it was a tie, like we could have still just kept pushing the whole tie between Mike and I guess it would have been Leroy, and then we could have just kept going and keep going until we could have eliminated somebody there. I guess I should have looked at it a little bit more strategic and looked at it as us versus them. And I think there was a lot of missed opportunities throughout the competition, because there were times where people did want to form alliances with me, thinking, going back to the airplane challenge, like, listen, us blue team, we should stick together, we should eliminate all the red ones. And I was just like, no, like, I don't think that's fair. Like, I don't think that's right to do that. Meanwhile, I'm just like, shut up, you should have just stayed. Even if we got out every single one of them, we would have eventually landed on Kuzi, and then I think it was 7 of us on that blue team left. We could have been the final 7, and then we could have figured out amongst us who the remaining trainer was. And I don't think Mike would have been able to survive if we had gotten out Kuzi earlier too. So I think if I had just took out this whole thing of me thinking I was trying to be fair and not form cliques and alliances and whatnot, if I should have had more of that us versus them mentality, and I probably would have made it a little bit further than I did right now.
Okay. Now, was it the resistance to alliances that was what made you and Kevin maybe not click so well in the game? Because you guys had a little bit of a back and forth there mid-season.
I will say this, and even Kevin Music came up to me, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe we had beef. And I'm like, we didn't have beef. You had beef with me. And I I had no problems with you. My votes for you was nothing personal. I just truly thought you were a traitor. And I think the reason why I guess we did clash was because we did take two different approach. I always say that, like, you know, the vast majority of our cast was playing chess. There was a select few of us playing 3D chess, and you know, I would put Kevin in that mix. And then there's people like myself and Donna playing checkers. So I think when you have a checkers player going up against somebody playing 3D chess and they have their own strategy going and they know they have all the pieces together, and then here I am like, ooh, I can understand. Like, I can understand why that was so frustrating, because at the moment when he was like, yeah, you rubbed me the wrong way, I'm like, how do I rub you the wrong way when we've never really interacted much on camera and not really so much outside of the cameras, and like, we don't talk game with each other. So like, what am I doing that's pissing you off? Meanwhile, fast forward how many weeks later and I'm watching it back and I'm like, oh yeah, I was annoying you. That, oh, okay, I can see this. But like, yeah, he's a very competitive person, and so am I. I just was going one way, he was going the other way, and I really thought I was, you know, certain with my choices, and he evidently believed that he was certain with his choices. And I think we just never really met up in the middle. So I think that's why there was that back and forth between the two of us.
Yeah, super fair.
Travon, I absolutely enjoyed you this season. I love that no matter where your theories were going, no matter how confident or not confident you were, you treated every round table like you were for sure in the know of what was going on. And that made for very fun TV. And we do thank you for giving us your time here.
Of course. Listen, if I couldn't win the money, at the very least, let me make some good TV. And you know what? Love me or hate me, at least you're watching me. So what can I say?
And I look forward to our interviews next season when we ask the next contestant why they lied, and they're like, you know, I watched Canada.
Oh, Lord.
Travon said to lie about your job, so I did it.
Listen, I'm telling you, next season you're gonna be like, oh my god, did I just pull a Travon? I literally think I am like the Quentin of Canada. So I mean, there we go. There's gonna be a Travon of season 2. There's gonna be a Travon of Australia and UK. Trust me, we're a dime a dozen.
Listen, I would say you're selling yourself short, because you had your eye on the traitors. Okay, you had your eye on some traitors. I don't think Quentin can say the same. So
that's fair. So you know what? Let's call up Kevin, and maybe I'm not the worst faithful ever. We can give that crown to somebody else.
Yeah.
I think your spot is safe. I think you're safe.
You were saying, you were like, I never voted for a traitor, but little did you know, you would already correctly.
I know. That gaslighting ass. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Travon. We hope you have a lovely day, and thank you for giving us your time.
No problem. Take it easy, all y'all.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.